This Tennessee pastor who absolutely lost his friggin' mind last Sunday doing the service from the pulpit. Take a listen.
I'm to the place right now. If you vote Democrat, I don't even want you around this church. You can get out. You can get out, you demon. You can get out, you baby butchering election thief. You cannot be a Christian and vote Democrat in this nation. Bunch of devils. I'm sick of it. Hey, we want to talk about the insurrection. Let me tell you something. You ain't seen the insurrection yet. You keep on pushing our buttons, you low-down sorry compromisers. You God-hating communist America. You'll find out what an insurrection is.
What the hell? I mean, seriously, from the pulpit, I won't even get into his tax-exempt status for his church. We'll just save that for the IRS to investigate that tape. Joe, what's your response to what Tara has referred to as this sort of ongoing amalgamation of insurrectionist attitudes and behavior inside the party?
It's not fringe anymore, Michael. What that pastor preached is no longer fringe. Look, you and I have talked before. The base of the Republican Party is fully radicalized. And look, people like me helped radicalize this base to the point now where the base of the Republican Party denies basic truths. They've given up on democracy and they want a dictator to rule. Michael, when we talk about the base, we're talking about middle-aged and older white folk generally. And yeah, look, I engage with these people still every day, Michael. They want 1950 America back. Some of that is racial. They want a white Christian country back. And what makes me really sad, Michael Steele, is all of my former Republican colleagues in Congress know this, but instead of letting black and brown people in and trying to persuade black and brown people to vote for freedom and free markets, way too many of my former colleagues just don't want to let them in because their base is radicalized.
Miles, you've taken a different approach to this effort to sort of create a new space for conversation with the Renew America movement. How do you, when you look at January 6th, you listen to what Joe just said about the radicalization inside the Republican Party? A, is there any hope for that institution as we currently know it? And B, if not, where do Republicans and like-minded souls who are pro-democracy still, maybe they're conservative in some of their policy-making views, et cetera, but where do they go?
Well, to your first question, Michael, is there hope? I saw Joe on the screen there shaking his head fervently no, and I'm going to have to say that I've come around to Joe's position. I spent several years in the hope that we were going to try to reform the Republican Party within. I was not ready to say, let's cede one of only two major parties in the United States to extremists, and was laser focused and in trying to get the good guys protected in the Republican Party, the ones who want to reform it like the Liz Cheneys and the Adam Kinzingers, and go after the extremists like Madison Cawthorn. Despite the fact that Madison Cawthorn has lost his race and people like Liz Cheney are still in the fight, I do not believe the good guys are winning. In the civil war for the soul of the Republican Party, the good guys are losing. And because of the reason you just said, Michael, that radicalized base of the Republican Party, Joe mentioned it too, that is why I believe in the long term, hopes to reform it internally are going to be a failure. Now, I left the Republican Party this week because I ultimately concluded after Buffalo that these efforts to try to reform the GOP are failing. And the Republican Party has tried to, disabuse people of the notion that it's tied to racism. But let me be very clear. There's not just a dotted line to the leadership of the GOP when it comes to violent white supremacy. There is a direct line. When I was in the Trump administration, Donald Trump and his core team refused to issue a domestic terrorism strategy when we talked about violent white supremacy, when the FBI and DHS warned that this was becoming a threat, because they didn't think those folks were violent extremists. They thought they were very enthusiastic voter And then when Trump would talk about the countries he wanted to increase immigration from, he would talk about Denmark, Finland, Iceland, Norway, Sweden. When he talked about the countries he wanted to decrease immigration from, he would talk about Somalia, Haiti, Kenya. It was very clear that the head of the Republican Party, Donald Trump, wanted more white people from rich countries into the United States and fewer black and brown people. That is still the person who's notionally the head of the Republican Party, directly explicated a racist viewpoint, but it didn't just stop there. It's not that they didn't want to do anything about the threat and quietly voice support for racist theories. They very publicly have promoted the notions, as you pointed to, Michael, of great replacement theory. That's what worries me. And when Madison Cawthorn said, "Get ready for dark MAGA," it made me think back to a Hitler quote when he said, "When you're in the light, everything follows you, but when you enter into the dark, not even your shadow follows you." It sounds much like what this pastor said. These people are getting ready to shed their consciences to do very bad things to promote this worldview.
But Joe, that's really at the nub of this. I get the question a lot of times. Well, why are you still a Republican? I'm like a Motel 6 Republican. Someone's got to keep the lights on, right? So I'm the guy on the front porch. I know, right? I know.
We're waiting for you, though, Michael.
Well, look, I tell you, I know it ticks them off that I'm still here. So, but that's fine. They keep breaking the light bulb, but we're still trying to hold up because the fundamental underpinnings and value of family and country and government service and all those things still matter to a lot of Republicans out there, Joe. To Miles's point that, the light seems to be going out here for a lot of those folks inside the party. You've got folks like Tara who are fighting through other organs like Lincoln Project. Where do you see